Alright guys, TouchGrubby back again today. Hope you're enjoying your Sunday so far. Today we're going to recap Day 5 of the Call of Duty World Championship. What an unbelievable day. It absolutely had it all. Finishing off with a Game 5, Round 11 as we will discuss. Remarkable stuff. Call of Duty is just fantastic. Back on the menu. Can't help but imagine what this would have been like on land. But whatever. We have to deal with it online. This is some of the best Call of Duty we have seen the entire season long. What a sight to behold, as I'm sure you guys will agree in the comment section below. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you are new as always. Let's not waste any further time and hop into these matches that happened over the last few hours then. The first one being London Royal Ravens versus the New York Subliners. Interesting series. First of all, the few times these guys have played in the past. Waskin tweeted this out before the series went live, which kind of made me think, maybe something's going on here. Maybe London actually won the series now that these games are indeed pre-recorded. No leaks though apart from this one today. As EasyMac says, London win the first series 250-180 on the first map. New York then bounced back in that search and destroy. I expected it to go 1-1 here over the first couple of maps, but didn't expect it to go in exactly this fashion. I thought London would win the search and destroy. New York, of course, win the domination as you expect against London. They win the map 4, and then game number 5, New York, they collapse once again in a game 5, and London move on in the tournament. As you can see right here, Shorty just went off, as you'll see in this clip in a second. Him in that construction area is just unbelievable. They win in the 3-2 fashion. Challenging London on Ramaza and Shawnee over at that side of the map is a difficult thing to behold. And as you can see right here, this is the series scoreboard. Zuma with a 1.12, Attach with a 1.17, and the slaying on London was nowhere to be found. The fact that they won, they won 2 respawns, or they won both hard points with these KDs is unbelievable, right? And fair play to London for doing it. The search and destroy, of course, very solid in the end as well. And Shawnee with this 1.38 over the course of it. And we'll see more of that, where that came from, later today in their match versus the Toronto Ultra. Just to mention though, given New York go out of the tournament, I'm sure a lot of these teams we're going to be discussing in coming days, what their future looks like, what potential roster changes they could make with the potential of 4v4 on the horizon. But it must be said, they went 1-8 this season in their game 5s. That's just not going to cut it, right? And I think they won one, the last time they won a game 5 was back in April or something remarkable like that. They've lost a number of game 5 since. This one against London wasn't even close, to be honest. And if you can't win your game 5s, you're not going to win a series at the highest level. So yes, they did win their, you're not going to win a tournament at the highest level. You're going to have to win some game 5s at some point. And London, of course, then had the rematch set up against Toronto later in the day. The first time around, they played at 0, lagged out in that game 4 in this booting drama that we talked about a couple of days ago. The second series of the day was OpTic Gaming versus the Mutineers, and wow, what a series this was. Mutineers having been such a good team over the last several weeks. I talked earlier in today's video about how I thought that OpTic Gaming could take the better of them here, that Mutineers maybe were falling off somewhat and have had similar events in the past where they've kind of fallen off. And Kenny, absolutely unbelievable once again. The slaying from OGLA was out of control. 250-214, and once again they take that momentum through to the search and destroy, stomp the Mutineers in the search, and then the game 3 they just about clutch them in. Honestly, a pretty remarkable, to be honest, game 3 Hackney Yard. The way that finished off, TJ with the ISO for that C flag, getting the job done in the end. And, I just mentioned this on Twitter as well, because Kenny is now chasing, well, not anymore, but he was at the time, chasing the back-to-back-to-back Champs Grand Finals, right, with the Team Caliber team in the World War II season, 100 Thieves back in Black Ops 4, and then now potentially OpTic Gaming Los Angeles this year. Hasn't worked out like that, but, yeah, still, OGLA looked very, very good indeed. As Mardog says, TJ at the C flag, just going off on the main stage here. And as you can see in this series scoreboard, courtesy to Cam Allen, of course. The Florida Mutineers couldn't get too much going. Havoc has a poor series. Awakening was still relatively decent, but Kenny with a 1.35. He's been a different beast since the OpTic Gaming guys have moved to Texas. And we'll see more of this, more of that, where this came from later in today in their match against the Chicago Huntsmen. The third series of the day then was this rematch. Massive match, to be honest, between the Royal Ravens and the Toronto Ultra. MVP goes to Shawnee CoD without a shadow of a doubt. Game 1 went 250-230 to Toronto, and this is a pretty interesting point, right, given that Ravens typically they need to take that game 1, because game 3 is not going to go in their favour. They just about edge out the game 2 in a 6-4, and then win the domination. Massive from them over at the Gunrunner, and that certainly gave them the confidence, right? Toronto are a pretty damn good domination team in theory. They've been pretty solid, but the firepower definitely goes to the Ravens, and impressively, to be honest, that they actually managed to win this, because what happened the other day, it was potentially going to game 5, 0 lagged out, and they didn't look so good. Toronto then lose that series to the Dallas Empire, where their slaying kind of fell off, and here against the Ravens, they can't get the job done, and that map 4 was pretty comfortable in the end over at that St. Petrograd. So impressive from the Ravens. They make it all the way to the top 4 at Champs. Not the best start to the weekend by any means. And then of course they lose that series to Toronto, but they run through the losers bracket to qualify for top 4. You got to say that's very impressive from the Ravens. Not one of the teams I was expecting to do it. I certainly thought they had it in them, but I just didn't think they would have the clutch factor here. And Shawnee deserves a massive shout out over at this game 4. As you can see right here, this is a Shawnee CoD appreciation thread. 34 in 13 in 14 with 13 assists and 2 minutes in the hill. So yeah, Shawnee was absolutely annihilating on this map number 4. And honestly, the way the team dynamic works right now makes a lot of sense. Having Shawnee on that second AR behind Waskin and Scraps on the SMG, that seems to make much more sense to me. Having Zero and Scraps, maybe they don't ideally run SMGs, but yeah, having Shawnee on that second AR, that's definitely been his comfort role throughout his career. The fact he can do that now and not run an SMG means he is much more valuable to the squad. It was very, very good here and definitely proves a contender for the rest of the weekends. They're going to be playing the Huntsmen, as we will look at in just a couple of seconds here, exactly how we got to that point. Toronto, Method does a great series, hasn't really had a great series the entire weekend, but just about has a decent one in this to finish off the job, but it's not good enough. Shawnee with a 1.3, catalysed of course by that phenomenal map 4 performance. Then of course, we go on to the final series of the day. This was set up for absolute fireworks and it did not fail to deliver. Huntsmen, of course, new OpTic, I suppose, like T2P, the old OpTic guys, Scump, Formal, Hector, over at the Chicago Huntsmen versus OpTic Gaming Los Angeles. The old OpTic, the kind of legacy, dying brand, I suppose you could say, for a number of factors. And against the, you know, the likes of Slasher, of course, and that team always been a villain for the OpTic Gaming guys over a number of years, to be honest, back on the Team Envy's team. It was just set up for absolute fireworks. And as I say, it didn't fail to deliver. This was game number 1. I mean, Pristini, of course, with a very poor event yesterday. I mean, he had a 0.58 in that series that they lost to the Atlanta FaZe. He certainly needed to bounce back, and he did that in spades, to be honest. As you can see right here, map number 1, 37 in 31 for Pristini. They take the win over Los Angeles OpTic just about, and then game 2, OpTic Gaming bounce back, 6-4 search and destroy. They win the domination as well, 161-34. They pull away at the end, and this is where Chicago's clutch factor comes into play, and I talked about it in the video earlier today. I expected this series to be against OGLA. I expected Huntsmen to close it out in a game 5. They're very good in their game 5s, very, very good in their round 11s indeed, and if they don't quite have the clutch factor the likes of FaZe in that game 5 they played yesterday against OGLA, they get the job done. They win the game 4, 250-218. Then we go to a game 5, and you know, what else, right, but a round 11. Round 11, 1v1. I mean, Arcetes with a massive 2-piece inside that bomb site. Pristini gets first blooded. I mean, like, OGLA make the big play call. They try and just run into B, and well, it doesn't work out for them, as I say. Alec with a massive 2-piece. Then you've got TJ in a 1 versus 2. I mean, Hollow won a huge gunfight on Formula as well, which is kind of almost reminiscent, to be honest, of the champs top 8 finish with Assault Gun Formula. It kind of felt like one of those massive gunfights that was going to be a decider. Didn't happen. Arcetes gets the 2-piece. TJ left in a 1 versus 2. Wins one of the fights. Up against Envoy though, and I mean, TJ almost gunned him, to be honest, but Envoy was in the perfect position to pick up the kill. I mean, that was like a $150,000 1 versus 1. I couldn't believe what I was watching. I mean, this is just Call of Duty at its absolute pinnacle. They win in the game 5 round 11. As I say, if it was on land, it would have been even more spectacular. That's not how it went this time around, but still phenomenal to see. Envoy 92 in 91. Could have been 91 in 92 and a loss, right? Which would have been remarkable to see. Not how it happened though. And yeah, TJ had a great series. Slasher had a great series. I mean, if there's anyone you trust to have a good series and a really clutch series that matters, it's going to be Slasher. That's why I rate this guy so highly. This time they fall short in the game 5 round 11, and Huntsmen live to see another day. But this was too close for comfort for sure. Going on to the next weekend, they're going to be playing the Ravens. If they win that, they're going to be playing the loser of Atlanta FaZe and Dallas Empire. And then if they win that, they're going to be playing the winner of that series in a 1-0 disadvantage, best of 9 in the grand finals. As Infoy says, ice in my veins, I do not lose though. So remarkable stuff from him. I mean, as I say, this is just some of the best Call of Duty series we have seen in a long time. The earlier maps, even that map number 1 really in this series, really set up for absolute fireworks. Didn't even really talk about that game number 1 over at that Gunrunner. Looked like OpTic Gaming were closing it up for a bit. Then Envoy got into the hill and contested for just long enough to give Huntsmen that perfect rotation over towards that P3. And, you know, just phenomenal stuff all around, really. It was a great map 1, great map 2, back and forth the next couple of maps. And then, of course, the game 5. Where else was it going to go to a game 5 round 11? And Huntsmen once again clutch up in that fashion. I mean, just super, super impressive from them. And Huntsmen then come out with this little video as well with, you know, Thanos stuff because, well, Thanos is the slasher meme and stuff. So they were firing some shots. All friendly stuff, of course. But let's look at what the bracket looks like then for next weekend. So here we go. As you can see, Huntsmen just about make it through in this 3-2 fashion over OGLA. As I say, it was far from an easy one. They're going to be playing the Royal Ravens in the losers bracket. That's going to be happening next Sunday, then or next Saturday, sorry, on the August 29th at 1 PM Eastern time, if you guys are already marking it in your calendars. And then just after that, we have the winners finals match. This typically would determine the winners of the entire tournament. It's pretty rare that someone comes from losers and wins. However, in the previous format, we've had 2 best of 5s in the grand finals. So the winner of this only needs to win 1 best of 5 series. The loser of this has to, well, you know, whoever wins the losers finals has to then win 2 best of 5 series against the winners finals winning team. That's made it very, very difficult in the past for teams from losers to actually win the grand final. It has happened on occasion, but there's really, you can count the number of examples on one hand, to be honest, that's happened really in the entirety of CWL history. This time it's different, just because I saw some confusion in the comment section of yesterday's video discussing how if it goes to the grand final, so let's say Huntsmen win this, let's say Dallas fall down, Huntsmen win or Dallas win, whatever, they play Atlanta FaZe in the grand finals, Atlanta FaZe are going to have a 1-0 advantage in a best of 9. That's the only advantage they get. They get seeding advantage as well, I believe, but they only get a 1-0 advantage, so it's definitely more possible for the losers team to win the grand finals now than it has been in the past. Definitely the winners team gets an advantage. Maybe you can say that's too little of an advantage, is it too much of an advantage? Definitely a question to be had there, but in my opinion it makes the grand finals more entertaining, right, and it gives more chance to the losers bracket team to actually have more of a storyline, even I suppose from a competitive integrity perspective it might not be the best. I'm sure that's another discussion we can have in coming days here on the channel. Hope you guys enjoyed the video. Like if you did, subscribe if you're new as always, I would greatly appreciate it. 26,000 subscribers, certainly achievable tonight, I believe. Thanks for watching as always, and I will see you next time.